hey, pull up a chair, sit down with me, and let's have a little talk about your interest in getting a goat for some milk. So whether you are going to watch this video because you would like a goat for milk or whether you are interested in breeding, all of you hang tight and listen through the whole video because this applies to all of you. If you are interested in milk, the goat will be having to give birth to produce milk. So breeding may apply to you. There are exceptions to that rule, and I'll discuss those a little bit as we go. But for the most part, in order to have milk from a goat, you are going to have to breed the goat at some point. That has so many factors, but think first and foremost, when you breed that goat, you are going to have little babies resulting. What are you going to do with that little baby or babies? In the case of many breeds, they can have multiple babies, and you do need to think about what is going to happen with those babies if you choose to breed. So if you have decided that you are going to have a home for those babies and know that they have a good home, or you have a family member or whatever the case is, and you're sure that you're ready in that aspect, then you can consider breeding your goats. So what do? You run out and you get a doe, which is a female, and a buck, which is an intact male. No, please don't run out and just go get two goats. That isn't a great choice because no matter what your goals are, whether you are wanting milk, whether you might want to show someday, whether you have an interest in bettering the breed or just making little cute babies, these animals need to be healthy in order to have a good amount of milk, a good gestation period with successful birth and kidding. So the animals that you're getting really do matter. You have to think about that and where you're getting them from, what past experience they've had. If you are getting a female that is already bred, and especially if she's a small breed, please ensure that the buck that she was bred to was a small breed also, because if you get her and she happened to have been bred to a larger breed, you might run into the same exact problem you would run into if you were to choose to get babies and accidentally have an instance where they were bred too young. Yes, that's right. You can't go out and get a cute little baby boy and baby girl and have them together, because in a confined environment, an accidental breeding at too young or too small of an age is very likely. So you need to avoid that at all costs, and you need to keep your bucks separate from your does, except when you're intending for them to be bred. The does need to have recovery time in between. Don't just let them run together and make all sorts of babies. It doesn't necessarily do any good for this earth. So please consider your breeding goals as you're doing this, and also consider the health of the animal. So you are taking a female doe that either is already an adult, in good health with good maintenance, hoofs trimmed, up to date on any sort of mineral supplements that might be necessary for your area, any of your normal routine or protocol that you might do if you choose to do so in regards to worming, vaccinations, stuff like that, because doing any of that during pregnancy isn't necessarily advisable. I shouldn't say that because there is some thought on vaccine and doing it during pregnancy. So look into that farther if you're wanting to vaccinate. I'll talk different videos about that. But for the purposes of this video, you just want your doe ready and prepped in the best shape of her life. You want the same thing for the buck. You also want their genetics to be sound and solid. You don't want an animal that is not going to be able to walk well when they're 4 years old, or is not going to be able to feed her kids because her udder maybe hangs too low. These things do happen, and some people get by just fine with it. And there's a lot of people with pet milking does that don't have great conformation, that love the milk they get and have a wonderful relationship with their animal, and that's great. But again, if you're starting from scratch, I recommend that you really look into what you're getting. Try and get the best you can, both for any female and for any male that you're getting. especially if you're going to be using that male on multiple females or for multiple years. His genetics will be used multiple times. Take that into consideration and get the best you can. Research, ask questions. People like me and a lot of other people that have been doing this for a long time would really rather answer your questions than maybe have you make the wrong choices and end up buying a baby girl and a baby boy where she gets pregnant too young, needs a cesarean, and then you still lose her. So, do reach out. Shoot me an email and ask me your questions. Hopefully I'll be able to get back to you, or it will spark something that I should put in a video to help answer people's questions, because I do get lots of repeat ones. Sorry, getting off track. You now have female and male, adequate age, size, maintenance, and they are going to be bred. You have to research and figure out if you don't own them. You can't just assume that you can find a male in town. You need to look into all of that and have your breeding plans planned out, because after they are bred, you will have a gestation period. For small breeds like the Nigerian dwarf goats that I have, they say that it's approximately 145. For large breed goats, they say 150 days. I have found that with my goats, it's about 147 to 149 day gestation, and I'm not exactly sure with the large breeds, so some of my large breed friends, please chip in here in the comments and let people know what you generally see for your breed as a gestation period. And that can vary based off of so many different factors, environmental, feed, all sorts of stuff. So what is maybe true for me in the 147, 149 day norm might not be true for you, but gauge about 5 months out. So after they've been bred, you're going to have a gestation period of approximately 5 months. When are the babies going to be born? If they are going to be born in February, and in February you are under 3 feet of snow and your goats live in a little lean-to shelter outside, that might not work out the best. One of the worst causes of barn fires and farm fires is heat lamps, especially heat lamps improperly used. There is only one kind of heat lamp that I would use in any of my kidding pens and stuff. So read in the comments and watch my other video if you would like to find out what I do support as far as heat lamps goes, because they can just be so dangerous. Goats, any animal, are playful, mischievous, they get all over the place. And so you don't want to be setting yourself up for kidding in the middle of winter if you are not ready and prepared. I am sitting here warm and cozy by the fire, but I've had kids born this time of year before, and I'll be sitting outside in the barn and it's -2 degrees and I am freezing my butt off in layers and layers of clothes waiting, because when the doe is kidding, there's no time clock and you can't exactly get her to have babies when you want her to. And so that leads to a lot of cold weather, middle of the night. So be prepared for middle of the night, all night long, middle of the hot day. Another thing to consider. Okay, so you don't want to breed for the middle of winter, but do you want to breed for the middle of summer either? You have babies in the middle of July and it is 98 degrees out and sticky and gross, and you don't get those babies cleaned off good and there's flies and ugh. You don't want to have to think about stuff like that, so you want to prepare in advance. If you are going to have kids born in the summer, where are you going to have them born? Are you going to be there? Generally, the does will get the kids all clean. Again, watch the kidding video so that you can learn more details about that. But there are times where you might have to step in and clean off the baby and ensure that you aren't having an issue whether that baby was born in the winter and needs to be dried thoroughly so that it doesn't catch a chill, or whether it's born in the summer and it needs to be cleaned thoroughly to ensure that it doesn't have any pest issues. So plan out your kiddings in advance. And during the gestation period, do your best to have proper maintenance. Diet for your doe. Don't be adding anything crazy in. Don't be thinking or hearing that, oh, goats need calcium to produce milk, and so then adding a whole bunch of calcium into their diet if they aren't used to it. You have to gauge and think about all of that. You can see that during the gestation and pregnancy video, it will tell you all about what a good diet is, which can vary a little bit based on area. But if you're sitting here thinking, okay, I'm ready to shut this video off, I've listened to this, I'm ready to breed, it doesn't matter, think about this. However long you've been sitting there listening to me is way less time than you're gonna have to put into the time with breeding the goats. So I'm gonna look at my list real quick and see what I forgot, and if I forgot anything, because you don't want to have an accident. You don't want the babies to be born in the middle of winter and be lost out in the cold. You don't always have to be there for the birth, but if you are going to want to milk, I definitely recommend you attend the birth. The female should be well accustomed to you being around, touching her udder a lot during the pregnancy is going to be very important, because you're going to want her to get used to you handling her like that. And if you attend that kidding, that bonding process, I feel, is very important for you, looking forward to milking her. So try and be there for your doe when she freshens, gives birth, if you are going to be milking her, to enjoy that wonderful milk, which I will teach you all about in the next video. So I hope that you make an informed decision whether or not you were originally wanting to breed for milk or breed in general. If you just want milk and you don't want to breed, there are a couple other options, and that you could get a doe that is already bred and wait for her to freshen, or you could get a doe that is already in milk. Sometimes people will be selling does that are already in milk. From time to time, I'll have them for sale like that. And in those circumstances, you could start milking right away, which would be nice, but it just depends on what your goals are. And I hope you enjoy your goat's milk any which way you choose to do it. And if not, maybe we'll meet up sometime and you can try some of my goat's milk. Not now. New Jersey doesn't allow me to, but someday. Bye.